struggling with laziness, starting a new task, and coping with it. Do you ever feel like it's hard to start something new? When you have to do something, do you often feel yourself feeling as if you're lazy and can't seem to get up out of your chair and start the new task? Do you find it hard to do something new when you're in the middle of something else? And when you have to start a new task, is it hard to get started and you can't seem to get your mind off the previous task? When you are upset at something, do you find it hard to just snap out of that emotion? If you have Asperger's, or on the autism spectrum, or know any other individuals who have it, this might sound familiar to you. This issue is commonly known as autism acceleration. People with this struggle have a hard time switching from one task to another. In other words, it takes more effort to switch gears. For example, if they are in the middle of one task, like playing a video game, and they suddenly have to clean the living room because company is coming over, it's hard for people with this condition to stop playing a video game and then initiate the task of cleaning the room. Another example is if a person is upset over something, such as they're angry at someone that said something mean, or something that didn't go according to plan and they're upset, it may be harder for the individual to stop getting mad or snap out of the anxious emotion. Let's say they have to focus on something else, like work at their job. It's easier for their emotions to distract them from their job, and it can even spill into their job. It is harder to simply snap out of the motion. It takes more effort than most people to force themselves to change gears, switch tasks, and switch a frame of mind. This especially happens if a person has to switch from a low energy task to a high energy task, or vice versa, or if they're in an extreme state of emotion. For example, it's hard to switch from a low energy task, such as lying in bed or being on the computer relaxing, and then suddenly having to do an energy intensive task like a chore. This also especially happens when a person is really excited or emotional about something, and they have to force themselves to think about something else, like paying attention to an instructor in the classroom. In general, switching mindsets takes effort for many individuals on the autism spectrum. Autism acceleration happens because how the brain of an Asperger's or high-functioning autistic individual is wired. The brain is wired in a way that causes the individual to focus intensely at one thing at a time and then another with less overall balance, coherence of all the brain centers, sharing the focus and working together. Unlike other individuals not on the autism spectrum, who can switch focuses on several things less intensely, back and forth, a person on the autism spectrum focuses more on one thing at a time. As a result, a person with this kind of mind will become very focused-oriented, skilled at specific things, and become really interested in them. But for most, it's often hard to switch the focus onto something else. This makes an individual to want to complete a task when started. Likewise, if such an individual is upset at something, they may become emotional about it and seem to get stuck on it for a period of time. This can contribute to executive functioning issues that contribute to planning and organization. This can also contribute into why people with Asperger's often struggle with change and don't like change. Furthermore, autism acceleration makes Aspies appear stubborn or even lazy. In truth, Many autistic individuals who appear to be lazy are really not. They just struggle with switching gears, struggle switching the tasks they are focused on. It takes more effort when they want to start something new or when they want to get out of a negative emotional state. There is good news. There are ways in which a person struggling with this can deal and cope with it. The solution to dealing with this involves understanding that a person can switch gears, in other words, switch a mindset or snap out of an emotional state. It just takes more effort. The struggle comes from the individual feeling that it takes more effort and energy to snap out of the mindset. As a result, they feel less motivated to doing so because it's hard. It takes effort. However, the solution is knowing that it can be done, and the struggling part that requires the effort is actually, in truth, is not as hard and not as bad as it may seem. There is a period of time where it will be hard to force yourself to switch the mindset. However, this period of time is only temporary. The temporary period of time doesn't last as long as the individual might think. Once deciding to put the effort to switching the mindset, they will realize it does take effort, but it won't take as long as they think. Eventually, there's a sort of hump the person gets over. After that, it's easy to finish switching the mindset for the remainder of the time. As a result, less effort is needed to finish. The trick in achieving it is simply understanding it's not as hard as you think. It does take effort, but it's a temporary period of time. Once it's done, the individual will be glad they decided to force themselves to initiate the new task or switch the mindset. Understanding this will help you. If you struggle snapping out of something, getting out of an emotional state, or understand you're a lazy person, understanding that you can snap out of it and it just takes a temporary amount of effort will help. Autism acceleration also has a gift or a sort of blessing in it. First, people with this condition often focus more intensely with things, and this is a good thing that should be honored. This makes them more skilled and talented in certain areas. Secondly, learning how to snap out of and switch out of the situations that are difficult to switch out of will strengthen their mind, help them build good mindfulness, which helps a person be happy in different situations, and the individual will learn a lot of wisdom each time they force themselves to switch. This may sound silly, but once they master switching mindsets, the wisdom they'll get will be huge. Autism acceleration is a common trait on the autism spectrum, which causes them to struggle. They generally struggle switching mindsets, stopping previous tasks, and initiating new tasks. It also makes them have a harder time snapping out of emotional states, and it makes them appear lazy when they're really not. This is caused by how the autistic brain is wired. An individual struggling with this can cope with it by simply learning to force themselves into starting a new task by knowing once they do it, it isn't as painful as they think. If you know any other information about autism acceleration or know any other tips in dealing with it, please share in the comments. I hope you found this video helpful. Thanks for watching, and please subscribe.